Hello, 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 and welcome back. Um, am I excited today? You bet, you bet. And why is that? Well, it is because today we are going to review um, one of my absolute favorite pieces that I have just acquired. Um, I have to admit that it has taken me quite some time to get it, and I will get into the details why that is. But it's one of those pieces when you finally get it, you can sit and just look at it and just go, it's been worth all of the waiting. Now, the watch that we're talking about this time is obviously the Breitling Colt, which, in my opinion, is something that you absolutely must, if you can afford it, if you have the ability and possibilities to save and to really put on your list and get. And there's a couple of reasons why that is, and we'll get into the reasons. Not only when we review the piece in general, but upfront is this is something that has been discontinued, and discontinued means it is no longer something that the company is making. It is no longer something that they are pushing out on the market. It is no longer something that you can walk into a shop and buy. It is on the market. It is what is there now is what is there. There is not going to come anymore. Um, every time one of the pieces goes out from the market into a private collection, it's gone. It's done. And that's always something that's very, very interesting to look after when something gets pulled off the market. If it's mass produced, then obviously it plays a bit with the value and also with potentially the prices of that product, right? So if you are mass producing something, you can lower your cost. There is not too much value in terms of people that have it, because it's going to be produced tomorrow as well. When something gets discontinued and it's of incredibly high quality, it is when it becomes a collectible item, right? And that is some of the things that we're looking at when we want to build a collection, not only to wear and have fun with, but something that we want to put aside and say, okay, this one is going to go up in price in the future. And right off the bat, let me tell you one thing about the Breitling Colt, and what it means for me. So this is a watch that I almost grew up with. I'm a couple of years older than the Colt in itself when they got it on the market, but it is one of those pieces that basically, when I was a really, really young boy, I already started having eyes for. And so I have a long, long history with looking at this one, and now, um, 20, 30 years later, I finally have it in my collection, and it's one of those things that it's there, and I couldn't be happier. Now, I will tell you that this is not a piece I'm gonna wear every day. I don't even think I will wear it because it is that precious to me. Is it because it's $100,000? No, it's not. It is because it has incredible symbolic value for me. And the one piece that I managed to pick up through the dealer that I work with, and I've worked with for many, many years, is in absolute incredible condition. It is a 2006, so it's got years on its back. It's got experience, if you know what I mean. It's not new to the block. It's not one of those that just came out yesterday, right? And so it's got the years, it's got a history, but it's absolutely cracking condition, and it's just super, super beautiful piece. So it's one of those pieces that I will take out. No doubt I will be looking at, I will be admiring, but it's not something I'll be putting on my wrist and just, go for a stroll and all of these things. It's too precious for me for that. one of the reasons why I think Colt is such an incredible piece is that this is a piece that was originally designed for military use, right? So and that's one of the things with Breitling that's really interesting is the history of where the watches and the style is coming from. Is that so? This is a piece that was deliberately designed for military, meaning there's a couple of things that you need to have if a piece is going to be worn by military personnel. It needs to be incredibly durable, right? You can't have something that breaks all the time and doesn't tell the time. It has to be incredibly durable. It has to be really robust, not only in the closing, the locking mechanism, right? It can't be something that like falls off your wrist and all of a sudden, oh my God, where did it go? And it needs to be something, and this is really interesting because not many people think about that. It needs to be readable during the day and during the night, right? And that is one of the things where when you look at the piece in itself, if you don't understand why they created it the way they created it, it might stand out as like, this is really strange. It's like almost like if you buy a diver's watch and you don't know what the bezel is for, or like you buy a chronograph and you don't know what the different functions they do, and you kind of look at it and say, hey, that's really a confusing watch. It is confusing because the mechanisms or the potentials of what your watch can actually do is not clear to you, which is again why I go back to you need to study what you are about to pick up. You need to know what it is that you're buying, and you need to know what it is possible to do with it, right? And that's really one of the things where the Colt is truly remarkable in some of those different things, because again, remember, this is not a watch that was done yesterday. This is not a company that started doing the mechanisms and the support or the structure of it yesterday, right? Breitling recently, recently, if we don't take years and months into something considerable, Breitling is a company that has recently celebrated more than 125 years on the market, right? And that is one of the things that really truly makes Breitling such a unique company. Now, I know that there's this conversation going on, which I find fairly silly, to be honest, is, well, why would you buy Breitling if you can buy, I don't know, Omega or Rolex or what have you? From my own point of view is like, why wouldn't you have both or all of them, right? I mean, like, it's not one or the other. Well, Breitling is not the same as Rolex. No, because Breitling is Breitling, Rolex is Rolex, and they're not pretending to be somebody they're not, right? And I also know the conversation, and I mentioned that on one of my other videos, and I'll put a link to that other video as well. Is that but they're using outsourced. There is not in-house. Well, it is kind of true with some pieces, and it's not true with other pieces, because Breitling actually has a lot of in-house movement. And again, what a silly argument that is to actually consider that Breitling would not be a company that's worth anything. That's just like, for me, that's nonsense. Why is it that Breitling was discontinued? Well, discontinuing the Colt. Well, it really has something to do with what is the recent history of Breitling, and also the lineup that they have of different types, right? And for some of you, you'll get excited about this one as well, because we will do a review, or I will do a review on it as well, is the Avenger. Right? So Breitling has a type that's called the Avenger, which is hugely popular, which is again an incredible piece. I'm not saying that just because I have one, but it is one of my all-time favorite watches to wear. It's just amazing. Now, Breitling Avenger and Colt is very similar in a lot of areas. And so it was kind of like they kind of cater to the same people. And with that, it was like, well, they're cannibalizing each other. And with cannibalizing each other, that's maybe not the best thing to do. And also, one of the things that was with the current CEO that they had, they were like, well, we want to streamline the lines of models that we have, and we want to sunset some of them, because we want to focus on those that are, heavy hitters, and those that are going to be heavy hitters in the future. And with that, it's kind of like a normal and natural process of cleaning inventory. Personally, I have this I don't know, like I have this strange feeling of like when I found out that they are sunsetting the Colt, because I really, really love that watch and I really, really wanted to have it. But then on the other hand side, I'm like, okay, the Adventure is pretty cool as well, and you know, having that in my collection already, that's like that's awesome. But yeah, I felt a bit like this bittersweet relationship with the news when that hit years back, that now it's gonna get sunset. What really, really saddened me more was when I started seeing that all of the information that you had, different communities and different reviews on the code, started to be pulled down because, well, apparently it's not relevant anymore. That really saddened me, because I think it's absolutely a truly amazing piece. So Avengers taking over, right, or took over, discontinued. It's no longer there. Incredible durability, absolutely fantastic piece. And put those things together, I'm pretty sure we've got a winner on our hands. So before we get into looking at the piece in itself, I will, as always, I'll go through the history of Breitling really, really fast. Also because I'll return to it and supplement that when we look at the Avenger. But it's really, really, truly, again, one of those companies where, like, really pushing for what is humanly possible when it comes to horology. And that's just one of the things where I think if you don't understand that, and if you haven't looked at the history of Breitling, reading up the history of Breitling, you can find that on Breitling.com, by the way. They've got great reviews of the history and all of these things. But they have incredible articles written about the history of Breitling as well. That is just, I mean, it really, really will open your eyes to what a great company this is. Now, originally, Breitling was started with Leon Breitling. That was at his time, right? We're talking about the 1880s, right? The company gets incorporated as Breitling in 1884, but before that, Leon Breitling was already having a workshop where he was doing different things with horology, where he was already servicing other pieces and what have you. And he was already at that time known as an incredible skilled watchmaker. And not only that, but his craftsmanship was just unbelievable. So 1884 is when they really start to look at, like, how do we do our own work? And then his small little workshop, fast in the matter of a handful of years, up until 1890, just 5, 6, 8, 7 years of working, is all of a sudden employing 60 watchmakers, and that's just like incredible growth. Now, if you compare that to today's date, 60 employees is not a lot. I get that. Although I would argue, if you have your own company that you just started from your basement right now, having 60 employees is pretty significant. So, hey, if you're doing that, thumbs up to you as well. Give yourself a like and a pat on the back. But what really is one of the things that they looked at right from the beginning is, we don't want to be anybody but ourselves. Again, legacy, history, and the truth and honesty to themselves and to what it is that the brand means for them. It's just absolutely amazing. Around 1893, they patent one of the first, and this is crazy. They patent power reserve on a piece that is up to 8 days in 1893. Right? And that mechanism, that pattern, and this is where it really, really becomes incredible. That pattern is still used till today, right? So it's that technology, that incredible insight in terms of how do you actually do power reserves on a watch is just unbelievable. Now, power reserve, if you are not familiar with it, is when you, so if you have a self-wind, if you do not move your hand, or if you just park your watch, it will continue to run. And that is running on its power bank and its power reserve. And that means that it saves energy and then use it when there's no movement going on. That's incredibly fascinating how the mechanisms is working there. And by the way, again, this is not something that is easily achieved. because you have to take into consideration how much technology and how much mechanics you can actually get in a piece that is tiny, 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 that is actually sitting on your wrist, right? So absolutely incredibly. Now, there is another thing that Breitling then becomes incredibly known for, and that is the accuracy, the accuracy, the accuracy, the accuracy. And so in 1896, what they managed to do is actually crack one of the codes on accuracy and actually hit the accuracy of 2/5 of a second accuracy, which is just unreal. Like 2/5 of a second accuracy is just mind-boggling at that time, and still is today, by the way. You will have some pieces in the lower range where you look at it and you go like, oh, it lost 5 minutes this day. It lost like two minutes yesterday. So like, I wonder what time it really is. That accuracy, Breitling is then in like famously, like they are mental about like that aspect of it. And why is that? It is because of what they've always catered for, right? And so one of the things that happens after that accuracy is that they start to look at the tachometer and also the stop watches, right? And so actually there's a funny story that they come up with this ability with the tachometer to actually measure speed, okay? Like, how do you measure speed? Well, speed is distant time, right? And then you can get the speed with that one. And due to that ability of all of a sudden, you can measure speed with a certain precision between 15 to 115 kilometers an hour. What actually happens is in Switzerland, thanks to that, people can now also like, oh, how fast am I going in my car? Like, I can measure that, all of these things, great. And we're not talking about 2010 or 2020. We're talking about, 18 something. Actually, thanks to the work that Breitling did with that, they were actually enabling the police to go and give their first fine for you driving too fast. So it's kind of like, it's really, really a fun story, but at the same time, knowing that Breitling actually helped co-create the speeding ticket is pretty funny. It is pretty funny, but what a legacy that they have, right? Absolutely incredible. Now, in around 1914, I think it's actually on the dot 1914, Leon Breitling unfortunately passed. Well, yeah, okay. He unfortunately passed, and his son Gaston took over the reign of the company and the family. At that time, it is truly a family business or family-owned business. Now, what they do is with Gaston leading the company is they are not slowing down. Breitling is pushing ahead with new technology. And so one of the things that then happens with when Gaston takes over is that's actually when they start to come with the introduction of the two bottom push. And so why is that? And you've seen that on chronographs, right? Nowadays you see that on chronograph. There's like 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 push that pushes that you have. Now, why is that significant? It's because in 1923, when they came with it, and this is again absolutely fascinating, is one of them would be start stop, right? That's how it works. You start it, you stop it, like a normal stopwatch. You start, you stop. Great. What the other push did was it actually allowed you to go and record a different time as well. So what you were able to do is capture multiple times, right? And so capturing multiple time sequences is what we also call lap time or split time. And that was already something that they pioneered, right? Start, stop, new one, start, stop, right? And so once you start to have split and lap time on that one, it all of a sudden becomes incredibly fascinating what you are able to do in this whole aspect of time taking, time keeping, right? And it becomes incredibly relevant for what will hit Breitling in the future, right? Now, up until around 1920, which is really one of those things that's incredibly fascinating as well. If you can find one of those pieces, buy it. Because up until 1920, Breitling within the watch were not using their logo. So you could actually go and get them to customize your own logo and stick it inside the watch. Around 1920 was when they started with their own Breitling, which is, the wings, the anchor, and the B. Now, up until that point, they weren't using that. They were customizing the logos for whoever would pay enough, and they wouldn't have a logo and all of these things. But then really in the 1920s, that's when the branding starts to come up. And Gaston was one of those that really pushed and understood the value of the family brand and how far they can push that going forward. Now, Gaston passes on and leaves the company in the hands of his son already in 1927. So 12 years after he took over, he passes on, and now Willie, his son, is taking over the family business. Now, small little note about how talented the Breitling family was with skill, with watchmaking, was that William Breitling, the son of Gaston, the grandson of Léon, was 14 years old, 14 years old when he started his own education or traineeship in watchmaking. Now, he's simply too young to run the company at the age of 14. So for around 5 years, they have external management coming in, fulfilling the values, the vision of Breitling. And when William Breitling turns 19, well, actually it's 18 plus a couple of months, he takes over the reign and starts to reign the company with full passion, full power, and takes it to a completely different level. At the age of 18, like, can you imagine that? Today's date, we are like talking about all of the entrepreneurs that are like young, that are all of these different things, but we actually forget that the amount of knowledge, information that we have available right now is not what we had like 100 years ago or like 70, 80 years ago. So taking on a company like Breitling at the age of 18 is just incredible, right? And so one of the things that he immediately does is he takes the two pushers and moves that into the aviator, and he starts to do, this just blows it completely out of proportion, is that he starts to look at the bezel. How, by turning it, can you add additional functionalities to the watch that's easy, usable? And again, this is something where especially the military is the core client. Then they start to look at the Lumisen, which obviously allows you to see the time during the night, right? And he just continues working forward with that. Now, there's a story on the fact that because of the accuracy, because of the functionalities, because of all of these things, what Breitling under Willie actually gets is a massively large contract with multiple governments to equip their planes during the Second World War with time taking and time mechanism. Now, why is this a significant step forward for the Breitling company? Well, because Breitling nowadays is all about flying. It's all about the air, right? It's all about precision, and it's always been about precision, but there is something different when we are looking at being in the air and having to use time there, right? And not only that, but pressure, humidity, and what have you. And so having really get access to the cockpit of bombers or fighting pilots or what have you, really then takes it to the next level. And that's where the huge aviation department actually gets built. And so now Breitling is having their own aviation department catering only for anything that's in the air, right? And so that becomes like incredibly important for the Breitling company going forward, because then that is really the birth of the prototyping of what we are now knowing as the Navy Timer, Super Ocean, Emergency, and all of these incredibly pieces that are then coming later on. And that was all, that the foundation was all laid with the contracts that they got during Second World War, right? Now, one of the things that truly becomes incredible is that you have the aviator, you have the Navy Timer, you then start to look at the Super Ocean as well coming, And then you have in 1958, you have got the Transocean coming as well, shockproof, anti-magnetic, super sealed, born for the ocean. So you now have something that's incredibly durable, that can last and gain, not last, that can survive any sort of environment. Now, how do you test if you really can last anything and support your owner through anything? Well, what about sending it to the moon? Okay, so in 1962, the Navy time model plus Breitling plus Scott Carpenter, an astronaut from NASA, they go together and they start to work on a watch that then is the one that he's going to wear, or actually the one that he wore with Aurora 7, right? Now, one of the things they find out really, really fast, which is again incredible because not many people actually think about that, is on the basal, right? On the basal, and also the dial in itself has to be 24 hours. It cannot be 12 hours. It cannot be that it is AM, PM. That cannot work. And the reason why that is if we go to space for 1 second, is when is it day and when is it night there? It's very, very difficult. It's very difficult to actually like figure out, like, is it day or is it night? You cannot distinguish that. So you have to run on a 24-hour basis. And that there is one of the significant moments for Breitling when they start to introduce that as well. The 24-hour dial. Absolutely incredible work as well. That is because we sent it out of orbit. Brilliant, right? Finally, one of the things that that William does is actually working with one of my my heroes, maybe, is with the Hoyer family. And so in 1965, they start to work together on what is known as the micro rotor automatic chronograph, right? Like micro rotor automatic chronograph. And by the way, again, so it's Jack Hoyer and his Dubois, the Dubois family as well. And let's just stop here for a second, because that work that they did with Hoyer and Dubois is actually something that we're working on today. It's something that we're using today. It's something that we're looking at today. If you go and write on Google micro rotor, ROTOR, you will see that system is in a bunch of watches today. So again, something that got pioneered in the 60s is still used now in 2021, which is just incredible. Now, what happens then is that eventually, in around April 1979, Willie is on his deathbed, and as his last thing, he signs over the company to a man that's called Ernst Snyder, that is a family friend, that is a pilot, and that is absolutely as dedicated love maker and entrepreneur as Willie was himself. At that time, he signs it over and said, "You are now going to guide and really take over the company and be the guardian or the guardian of the Breitling legacy." And that was one of the moments where okay, so what's gonna happen now? All eyes on it. It goes out of the family into foreign ownership. And everybody have to admit that Ernst Snyder did an incredible work. He did an amazing piece of work, taking what we've gotten with the Breitling family, with Gaston, with Willie, and Leon. He takes that to a completely different level. He is absolutely true to the company. He's true to the legacy. And he does a tremendous piece of work for a long, long period of time. Almost 40 years, he is the reign of the company and just takes it to incredible level. What happens then is that I think it's around 2006, 2007 that CVC is finally taking over the full reign of it, and is now the owner of the company, which is not sad, it's not good, it's not great. The current CEO is a visionary. He's truly amazing as well. and again understands the history, the company, the family, and is absolutely true to everything that has been done so far. But one of the things that so I mentioned that pushing what is humanly possible in a watch. And so although we've taken one of the watches, gone out of orbit, fly to the moon, what have you, is great. But what really stands out as one of the absolute most incredible achievements is when they introduced the Breitling Emergency. So if you've seen the Breitling Emergency, you know it's a fairly big watch. And it's not for something that you wear to a party, I can tell you that. It is 100% pure survival. What makes the Emergency such an incredible piece is that it's got this push, it's not really a pusher, it's got an extra crown sitting at where the bracelet goes up, right? The rim, right? So it has one here where when you actually unscrew it, you actually activate an antenna, a signal, a distress signal. So what they managed to do was to put in an antenna for a send receive signal to a satellite. I'm not. This is not sci-fi. This is real. And again, this is something that they started working on in 1988. Right, so it's not something that they did like yesterday, where now we can, satellite with the cars and all of these things. No. This is like you're wearing a timepiece, right? And you are a helicopter pilot, for example. It's a very good example because there's a story with that. And you are flying, and then something terrible happens, and you're stuck in the middle of nowhere. Let's say Antarctica. It's pretty cold in the Antarctica. Without the right equipment, you will not survive a long time there. Now, it's not exactly like it's a hugely trafficked place. So unless people know that you're there and where you are exactly, then, good luck finding anybody. And now, so what you do is you unscrew the crown, plugs it, or pull it out, and the minute you pull it out, distress signal goes from your watch to a satellite, the satellite down to a command center. And in the command center, they will know that if that has been activated, you are in danger. And then they can disperse people to come and save you. It's pretty cool. Now, Stephen Brooks and Hugh Quinton Smith, two British pilots, squadron leader, in 2003 went through that exactly. And for whatever reason, their helicopter crashed at the Antarctica. And without proper clothing, proper food, proper anything, they were absolutely gutted. Unscrew their capsule, their antenna. Distress signal goes to the satellite. Satellite goes to the command center. And thanks to that mechanism, they survived that crash and that episode with landing on Antarctica. Now, why is that significant? Well, because it saves lives. It has been used multiple times on the sea as well, that somebody out sailing, capsized, for example, but is able to inform the Coast Guard that they are in distress. And so all of a sudden, you then become a company that not only tells time and is incredibly fascinated with horology, but all of a sudden you save lives for like that, which is truly and utterly amazing. Like that is seriously cool stuff. And so I think the technology, the legacy, and what Breitling has been doing and is still doing over the years from 1884 up until today is truly and utterly amazing, right? Not only time, not only with planes, not only with cars, not only with saving people's life through the emergency. It's just all around an incredibly fascinating company. So having said that, that was a bit of the history. Now, let's look at it. So The Colt, as I said, the Colt really is a truly and utterly unique piece. We should almost have an intermezzo, like music or something like that, and then get ready for it. Now, the Colt is incredibly fascinating watch for me. Now, this one that we're gonna look at right now is it's running as a 41 millimeter. I normally run on a 44 millimeter. So for me to wear it as a 41, I would feel a bit awkward because it is slightly smaller. I prefer my 44 millimeters because I'm a big divers fan, and I'm a big fan of actually that whole 44. I will not typically go more than 44, 45 millimeter, but a 41 millimeter is tiny, in my opinion. That's my own opinion. But it has one really cool feature because it's a 41 millimeter, is it's so conservative on your wrist. And that really is one of the things where when you wear it, it's just, it blends in. It blends in perfectly. It doesn't stand out as something extraordinary or like something extravagant. 44 millimeters does that once in a while. 41 millimeters absolutely does not do that. It's coming with fold clap, and I'll show that because it's actually a pretty cool system. 20 ATM, right? So you know that it's gonna take a lot of diving and a lot of swimming to actually make it tired. Steel case. We are talking about that they are using their own Breitling 73, so that is the caliber or the movement, and of course it's sapphire glass as well. Now, I'm excited. Shall we look at it? Let me just take a sip of my coffee. So now the first thing that you see when you get it is obviously Breitling comes in our loved and deared silver, yellow boxes, right? And make no mistake, this is a heavy one. This is a heavy box, and I know why that is. You have the Breitling logo, right? The flashy one, and again, you see, as I mentioned, you have the wings. You have the wings and the Breitling and the anchor, right? Air and sea, right? Air and sea. If you didn't know that, happy to share that with you. It is the signal, as I said, it is Navy and aviation. That's where Breitling is really having its legacy. Now, I will admittedly give you that this box is a bit worn and it is a bit torn, but it is in incredible quality because this is a 2006. So it of course has a bit of years on its back. Inside you get the the isolation caps, right, in the aluminium. Look at it. Again, you have the little manual here, the Breitling manual. Bang, you get it here. Open it, switch open. Again, not really anything out of the extraordinary. We have the manual, right, the Breitling Chrono Colt, right, there you go. Bang, bang, doot, doot, doot. And of course, one of the things that we want to check and we want to look at is we want to make sure that we have the certificate. This is, again, as I said, this is 19th 2000. It's June, July 2006. All sits here. By the way, we've got serial number, right? We've got reference number as well. Matches the watch. We can check that online to make sure that everything is as it's supposed to be. Then what else do we have? We have the certificate. And the certificate is, it's one of those things where it's just cool. I mean, like, knowing like how many years I've been a Breitling fan when I was a kid, not being able to afford the watches, sitting and then having one in my hand and is able to look at, this is an original certificate from Breitling. I'm there. It's not like I've made it, but it is, I'm there. It's definitely something that's very cool. Then you have a bit about the box in itself, like why the box is like it is, like what Breitling is using for the case. And this is the case, right? So this is the case. There you go. Bong, 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 bong. And again, I have to admit that this case is absolutely amazing. There is no wear and tear on the case at all. Like, this is Like the only wear and tear that's on it is my greasy fingers when I was opening. Besides that, there's no wear and tear. Now, when you get your, or when you buy not only a Colt but in general, when you're buying a watch, you have to make sure that you actually get what is supposed to be there. In my case, it's the extra strap, right? And so this is the brown leather strap. I don't wear brown. Brown is not my color, but I will tell you that this is actually a really cool strap. The stitching, typical white stitching, the distance between each stitch, and the thickness of the string, typical classical Breitling style. So that just looks absolutely crazy cool. Then of course you have, let me see if you can see it. You've got a small little engraved logo in the lock, absolutely cool as well. And of course you have got the, which I think is very cool because I've got other watches that does the same thing, is that, let's see if you can see it, is you got the double stitching on the closing, which just makes it look absolutely cool. So that comes in as extra. Thank you very much. And there it is. Let me just get it up so you can see it. There we go. That's the bad boy. Now, let me get it out so you can see it proper, because I think it's absolutely amazing. Now, again, is there a bit of wear and tear on the box inside? Not really. It looks absolutely crazy good. Now, let me just get it out. One of the things that you immediately notice about it, and as I said already, like for me, is that because it's a 41 millimeter, if you are, I mean, potentially, this could be something that you wear dressed down. This is even something that I've seen women wearing as well. Not that I want to discriminate or anything like that, but a 44 millimeter on a woman's arm can be quite large. This 41 millimeter is actually something that could look crazy cool as well. Now, one of the things that you want to see it? Should I put it a bit closer? Okay, there we go. Look at that. Now, one of the things that drops, like really like is eye dropping, is, and this is the reason why I was looking for this one for quite some time, is that I wanted to have the dimensional look. I wanted to really go for multi-dimensional. And what do I mean with that? Well, when you have the chronograph and you have the different dials inside, is if you are able to color combine that in a way where it stands out, it gives you a three-dimensional look, because that's where it gives you the breadth and the depth of something. So I've looked at other Colts in the past where basically the background, the dials, they were all the same color. And for me, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to have something that really stood out. And so I don't know if you can see it, because it's, I'm trying to see if I can get a bit closer so you can see it. But look at, like, can you see that it's almost like it's cut, right? Like you see the rims around it, there are like 10 of them or something like that. Now that, with the background dial, with the white dial, that gives it, when you're looking at it, it gives you like almost like a three-dimensional view on it. And for me, so maybe you can see it if I do it like this. No, you can't see it. I don't think you can. But what it does is it really gives it a lot of depth. And that is absolutely incredible. I really think that that's the coolest feature you can get on chronographs, is when you have the different types of dials in different color, not different colors, but in different dimensions. So if you're running on black, then white, or if you're running on white, then black, or in this case, cream white versus bluish kind of thing, right? So that is one of the things I absolutely love. They are, of course, here you've got the crown, you've got the pusher, and that is, as I said, that is for start-stop, it's for multiple times and all of these different things. As we went through, incredible pattern here. You've got the moving bezel, right? And so the bezel, then what you can do with that is, set it, and then it works with your tachymeter, right? And then it's just unbelievable. Now, as I said, you have it is, I would say it's rubber silicone, right? So it's again very, very durable. You could strap on the brown one, so you get a bit of dimension as well on that one. And then again, let me put it this way, so maybe you can see or imagine what it would look like. I can't be bothered actually changing it. So like this is what it would look like with the brown instead of the black. I actually think that the brown with it looks incredible. Now, so I mentioned that it has a folding clasp, which is really, really interesting. It's not the normal or the traditional folding clasp that I'm used to, because it's, you see, like that's how it works. So it actually is, instead of having like this one, sorry, let me get this one. Instead of having this one where you've got, like that, right? You've got a normal clamp, you got straps here that hold the strap. Here you actually get that immediately. Bang, bang. You get it in, underneath, lock it, and you have to move it to actually get it out. Now, why is this cool? Besides the fact that when I tried it the first time, I was like, this is very strange. This takes forever to put on. Well, it will take forever to get off. And I was like, yeah, but why? Why? And the point of it is, it's because the military usage. It is to ensure that this is not something that accidentally unwraps or unstrap and falls off. You will not have that with this locking mechanism. You cannot hit it on either side and it opens if you have, for example, a butterfly clasp. Like that won't happen. This one here is meant to lock and stay locked. Like how absolutely cool is that? And so when I'm looking at it, and by the way, like the brushed metal, right? The case is just absolutely gorgeous as well. I mean, I can't tell you like how exciting I am, or how excited I am. Like that it's just absolutely brilliant condition. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful piece. Now, again, as I said, let me try and see if I can do it differently. So this here is a 44 millimeter. So you can see the size wise, right? The size wise, it is much, much smaller. And so on my wrist, would that look cool? I guess it would, but because this is my precious little baby, I am not at all gonna stick it on my wrist. I'm not gonna flounder down the street and like, hey, look what I've got. I'm absolutely not. This is gonna go into my safety deposit box, or it's gonna go into my my safe. I'm gonna leave it there, and then I'm gonna take it out once in a while, look at it, have some fun at home with it. But it's not something I'm gonna risk damaging. It's not because I think I will damage it. By the way, I take very good care of my watches. That's not the case. It's just, oh, I would be so sad if something happens to it, because I've been wanting it for so long. And having that is just absolutely, absolutely brilliant. By the way, let me give you just one thing. So I will do a comparison on them in more details when we do another video. But look at the big brother, right? So this is the Colt, this is the Avenger. So you can see the Avenger here, very, very similar. So the one I have is really, really drilled down to simplicity only. There's the calendar, there is no chrono, there is no nothing. And here you have the other one. Bang. Thank you very much. So, by the way, military grade usage as well. And that's the reason why they discontinued it. Now, discontinuing it, is that a bad thing for us? No, I don't think it is. So, the baby goes back in the box to sleep. Absolutely love it, think it's incredible, and I couldn't be more excited about it. But let's go back to discontinued. Is that a bad thing? No, not if you act fast. I don't think so. Let me give you a concrete example, okay? If you're looking at, so one of the Rolexes that they have is a Rolex, and you can look it up online. It's a Rolex that they refer to as the Hulk, because of the greenness in it. Look up the Hulk. Hulk is one that got discontinued as well. Okay, I'm not saying that Breitling is Hulk or Hulk is Breitling, but I just want to give you an example of that. What happened with the Hulk was that eventually people, they started understanding how just incredibly cool that watch is, right? That was a piece that you could get for, I don't know, $3,000-$4,000, maybe euros. I don't quote me on that, right? But you could get it for a decent amount of money. Now, if you look at from when they disconnected the watch till today, the price of that watch has gone up like 4 or 5 times. Just incredible, and like literally incredible prices. Now, will that price continue to grow? Well, yes, because now all of a sudden the scarcity of that watch is even higher because people know the value of it. Okay, they know the value of it, and they will continue to push the prices up there. Is the Hulk an incredible piece? Yes. Is the Colt an incredible piece? It is as well. They're not the same. That is not what I'm saying. They're different. They're different companies. They're different types, different models, all of it different. However, there is that function of scarcity where there is not a lot of products available, that if it is quality, if it's absolutely gorgeous pieces, and if it comes from a company that actually knows what they're doing, the scarcity is going to work in your favor. And scarcity working in your favor means prices will increase. Now, it could decrease a bit in the beginning because there's no market for it. There's a recession. People are trying to get rid of the pieces and all of these things. But every time a piece gets sold to a collector like myself, it gets taken off the market. We don't run these pieces to look at it and flip it tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. We don't. So the pieces gets off the market. And again, if you have a person like me that's looking targeted for this one here, you start to run a price where it becomes seller's market, and seller's market means I can basically charge whatever because the buyer is willing to pay whatever. And that is where you start to have these tricks on how can you actually get something that in the future is going to look really, really favorable in terms of price going up. Now, I have in my own collection, I have several pieces that are collector's items, but I also have some that was bought at the right time, pure luck, coincidence, or because it was well planned. You choose yourself. But I have pieces that I bought on a really, really good price, that now if I would sell it, it would be 5, 6, 7 times the price. And that is the span of 10, 15 years. Okay. Now, that is because of scarcity. So if you're looking to invest in something and you're looking to get something that really, really makes money for you in the future, you need to be able to consider 2 things. A, you will eventually sell your piece. B, you have to look at value and scarcity. Now, if you put those 2 together, then you have something that you can make money on. Good for you. Now, I will say, and I was talking to a good friend of mine the other day, and he was saying but the Breitling that you have, this that you have, that you have must be great investments for me. The Breitling will be a great investment if I would be willing to sell it, which I will not. So is it a good investment, or is it a running cost? Because investments mean that eventually at one point I will get dividends on it. I don't get that on my Breitling, or I will sell it, which I will not do. So one of the things that when you consider, I am going to invest in watches because I want to have return on my investment, you have to make one thing clear right from the beginning, and that is, am I going to be willing to sell my watches at one point? Me, I am not. There are some of my other models that I have, some of the other watches that I have, I might trade or I might even sell, but I have also a collection that I will not sell. And so does it become a cost, a liability, or an investment? For me, it doesn't matter, because I know the value is there. I know the value will continue to go up. And if I wanted to, I could sell it. But I'm not interested in selling it. Certainly not my Breitling Colt. So I hope that it's been insightful. I hope that you share the love and excitement about the Breitling and the Breitling Colt. Breitling is an incredible company, absolutely fantastic history, fantastic legacy. And I think it's one of those companies that deserves a lot more credit than it's getting. Now, having said that, you have to make up your own opinion. Now, go and have a look at it, Figure out if this is something for you. Let me know in the comment field what you think about the Breitling the Colt as well. Do you have a Breitling? Is it something that you would wear? And besides that, hit the subscribe button as well. Click on the notification so you don't miss any future videos in the future. And thank you for watching, and I will see you next time around. Bye.